What's going on, everyone, and happy Wednesday. So far for 2024, the market is 2 for 2 with its red days, and looking at the market right now, we do have a lot of some really great setups brewing in the market right now. There was some pretty big news today related to the DEA and marijuana, and as we all know from the past, anytime there's any sort of catalyst or event related to this, the marijuana stocks go absolutely crazy, so we're definitely going to touch on that in today's video. But there's also some news with the FOMC minutes report from today, and we also have a pretty cool chart to look at as the video goes on, showing what the market has done in the past after it has had such a giant run-up, just like we've seen over like the past couple of months. So in this video, we have a lot of great charts, a lot of great information, and a lot of great plays for tomorrow. So make sure to stick with us all the way to the end. And I will say this, today's big money trade is one of the most interesting trades that we have seen in a while. So you better stick with us. But Tom, enough time wasting, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, today was the final day of the Santa rally, and I'll tell you what, Mike, the Santa rally was going really well at first. You know, the market was starting to pop higher, and stocks were running up towards those all-time highs, but as SPY has been rejecting off resistance, we have seen a huge turnover out of the overall market, and of course, guess what? That SPY made a new low of day right before the market closed, running down very close to 468. So, Mike, I'm looking at the market for tomorrow, and we just broke that key support from today. Hopefully this doesn't open up the floodgates tomorrow morning. There's been a few stocks that just keep running down. Tesla is one that really comes to mind. This morning, we saw a few stocks trying to run back up, like Apple, Microsoft, and a couple others that open were actually looking all right. But Tesla really turned over and just drug that market down even more. So, man, Mike, there's just a plethora of stocks that are very weak right now. Even like Apple and Microsoft pulled back quite a bit towards the end of day, getting back to those lows. So we can still watch some of these big supports for another break tomorrow, and it's setting up for some really awesome plays.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And, you know, some people are looking at the market right now and their minds are just being blown. Like, how on earth could the market be down 2 days in a row? It's crazy, right? But in reality, guys, the market is up like 17%, 16% just over like the past couple of months. Like, that is a giant run up. So not only is it like expected to see, you know, it pull back at some point, but it's also just healthy for the state of the overall market. If we just saw the stock market rise each and every single day, then, you know, there might be a bigger problem than you might have otherwise thought. But either way, this movement is normal and it's a good thing. And we're going to talk more about it as we look at some charts as the video goes on. But we definitely have to talk about the pretty big news related to the DEA and the whole marijuana situation right now. So, Tom, fill us in.
Yeah, it's huge here, Mike, and these marijuana stocks can go crazy, and the DEA is actually reviewing marijuana's classification as a Schedule 1 drug, and it looks like the health agencies came out, and they actually are looking at a Schedule 3 recommendation, and it looks like the DEA came out and said, well, hey, you know, we kind of have the final authority here. Congress doesn't have the authority. The health department doesn't have the authority. The DEA has the authority, and Mike, I hope the DEA changes this, because we go look at the current scheduling of these drugs. I can't believe what marijuana is scheduled with in Schedule 1 up here at the top. Heroin, methaquolone, peyote. I mean, you go down here, methamphetamine is Schedule 2. Schedule 2 is technically supposed to be safer, I guess, than Schedule 1. And Mike, like, look at all these. Like, you're telling me that fentanyl is scheduled lower than marijuana? I mean, come on now. With all the research and all the stuff that we've seen over the years, there's no way that it should be scheduled that high, but it's definitely going to bring some hype in for marijuana stocks if they do end up changing that scheduling. And if they put it down by level or Schedule 3, that would be pretty awesome, right? It's down by kind of like where Tylenol is, you know, testosterone, steroids. It's nothing near as bad as like a fentanyl or something like that.
Exactly. So long story short, the way the laws are set up in the U.S. make it very hard for the marijuana industry as a whole, and it makes it very hard for like marijuana businesses. So anytime you see news like this come out, obviously any marijuana related stocks have a lot to gain from that, especially considering marijuana is not federally legal. So that presents a whole different set of problems. But anyways, marijuana stocks were on the rise today given this news article, obviously. And in the past, whenever marijuana stocks start to run up, normally it's like kind of like an all or nothing type event. So it's like when they run up, like they really run up with some very serious power and momentum and price action. And when they don't run up, they kind of just like fade lower. And anytime like there's some good optimistic news like that for this company, for these companies, it can be the catalyst to starting a new uptrend. So keep that in mind going forward. Some of the stocks that have the most to gain from continued good news like this, MSOS is one of them. Essentially, it is a bunch of US-based cannabis companies all under one ETF. And in the past, other stocks like TLRY and CGC have run up quite a bit as well. But with everything being said, I would say keep a very close eye on MSOS, TLRY, and CGC, as those stocks normally have like the best movement and options and price action overall during these types of catalysts.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of marijuana stocks out there that get some great movement, and, you know, they all don't have, like, the best options chains out there with these marijuana stocks being a little bit lower price now and everything. You know, they can get a little bit whacked sometimes, but, like, Tilray has some pretty good ones. MSOS is looking good, and I even have an outlier I like, PLNH, Planet 13. This stock actually normally follows marijuana stocks pretty good and has some pretty good gains, like 157% earlier this year whenever Tilray and the rest were running up. So, there's a lot out there, but I like MSOS because it's a U.S. cannabis ETF that incorporates a lot of U.S. cannabis companies, because a lot of this news, you know, there's a lot of Canadian marijuana companies out there too. So I really like MSOS because it has those U.S. companies in there.
Exactly. So either way, keep a close eye on this one going forward. And don't worry, we are going to talk about this stock more in the video, but we have some other important things to cover as well, which brings me right into my next point of what the market has potential to do next. So as we can see by looking at this chart right now, a 20% yearly gain suggests that most of the time the market continues to rise going forward, but it's not always higher than the previous year. So essentially what I'm saying is 2023 was a phenomenal year where the market rose by 24%. While that's awesome and great and everything, most of the time the market will continue to rise in those situations. It just won't be as good as the previous year. So like the market can easily rise more. It's just, it probably will not be greater than, a 24% gain like we saw over this past year. And, I don't think that should surprise anyone given, just how the market works and the economic situation at hand anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And the historical average is like right around 10%. I know this data is sitting very close to 10% here on this data set too. So, to see the overall market, just to, expect like a 20% gain is obviously something that a lot of people shouldn't do. But I'll be honest, Mike, the way a lot of people talk lately, I would expect maybe next year the S&P 500 might go up 100% or something, So, sometimes the way people are, so hyped up in the moment, right? It can really cause some of that euphoria that, that traders start to see. And I feel like that right now with the market going down, we're starting to see a lot of that euphoria start to dwindle down a little bit. But it's always good to look at these stats, Mike. And I really like to see that, at least on average, it doesn't go up at least 20% the next year. But hey, at least it goes up 80% of, the next year. But like we talked about yesterday, the average pullback is also like right around, what was it, like 14%? So you always got to be ready for those pullbacks too.
Yeah, exactly. So like looking at this data, like you said, historically speaking, around 80% of the time the market will continue green. It's just not as green as the previous year. So keep that in mind going forward. But on another note, the FOMC minutes event was today. And Tom, there wasn't anything like too crazy that came out of this, but what do you think?
Yeah, so I saw this I saw the minutes come out, Mike, and I went ahead and I read through the article and I read through a lot of the reports, and it sounds like that they are looking it looks like that they're at their peak for the tightening cycle. That's like in their own words. And one big thing that I saw is that the dot plot actually showed that participants expect cuts to come over the next 3 years, bringing the borrowing rate back down to 2%, and that almost all participants indicated that, reflecting the improvements in their inflation outlooks, of course, their baseline projections imply that a lower target range for the federal funds rate would be appropriate by the end of 2024, which is good. And, that kind of pushes more towards the side of the cuts, right? And we go talk about the Fed Watch tool and what the market's pricing in. I think what did I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The market's pricing in 6 rate cuts next year. Now, keep in mind, these charts always change. Just a few months ago, they were expecting June to be the first month cut started. Now it's in March out of nowhere, right? That changed awfully quick, So expect more, obviously, events and news to change this. But as of now, it looks like the cut should be starting in March, and nothing on the minutes necessarily showed that that wouldn't be happening, which is good.
Exactly. Like, it's just like a big story of like everyone's kind of saying like the rate hikes have most likely stopped. From this point, it's just a matter of like how soon will the rate cuts be and how significant will they be? Like, you just showed the current market pricing, but as like the Fed members have said, like, it's uncertain, like, in the exact way everything will play out. So that's interesting there, and we'll talk about this more as more FOMC events happen. But on a different note, Tom, there is still a little bit more economic data to be aware of for this week. What's on the schedule?
Yeah, so for tomorrow, pretty big actually in the morning, right before market open, we're going to get the initial jobless claims, the ADP and employment change. That's going to be pretty big. And then on Friday, we're actually getting even more non-farm payrolls, ISM services PMI. So there's going to be, and the unemployment rate Friday as well. So a lot of jobs data coming out this week. I will say the data that came out this morning didn't really make or break the markets too much when it came out, but the minutes started moving things a little bit, but it wasn't anything too crazy, right? We need to see maybe the numbers come in a much higher or much lower than like the forecast. Everything seems to be coming in like right as expected right now, which is just not really wowing or freaking anybody out too much.
Yeah, and that's fine, because, when you have sometimes, like, I don't want to say like a complete lack of economic data, but sometimes like when the economic data doesn't really have like a huge effect onto the market, sometimes it's better for trading because you don't really have to worry about unpredictable data sets kind of like screwing over your trade setup. So I don't mind it at all. And then earnings is also in like a slow time of the season right now, as really only Walgreens will report before open tomorrow, and that'll basically be it for the rest of the week. But with that being said, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow. One stock I'm watching very closely is MSOS, and basically, as we talked about earlier in the video, there's some pretty big news with this one that is definitely driving it higher. It was up around 6% on the day. It closed near its highs. The price action was relatively consistent. In the past, when it had this level of new inflows come into the stock, and when it has moved with positive momentum in the past, a lot of times it was followed by even more positive momentum after the fact. That does not mean MSOS has to be green tomorrow, but I would not be surprised if it does have some pretty bullish price action in the days and weeks coming. So either way, I will have this one close on my watch list in a bullish way over like the next couple days to even the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I really like SOS right now. Obviously, whenever these marijuana stocks get good news, they can really get some movement coming in. So I'll keep it on the radar for the next few days. And with my first play, I'm going with Chevron. And it's a bit of like a surprise for probably a lot of people, right? Because everyone's like, oh, oil's been down in the dumps. Well, oil actually had a great day today when the market was down, which is a great sign. I always love looking at oil whenever the market is fluctuating, because it can sometimes create some good opportunities, sometimes not. Just depends on the exact situation. But I do like oil right here. It's starting to pop up a little bit. It's running up into recent resistance, specifically oil stocks, like Chevron here. If they can break this resistance, right around 153.15, 153.20. I'll look at calls for tomorrow. It's almost triple topping, and I think it could get a nice move early on tomorrow.
Sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Apple, and it's to the downside, and I've been hitting on this one like almost nonstop over like the past couple days or so, and it has been continuously falling. It fell a little bit today, but nothing like too crazy. But if we do see like even more bearish price action come in tomorrow and a break below like the 183 like 40 area, I would love to trade this one to the downside. It's pretty rare to see this one drop, but every now and then when it does go on like these like pullbacks, a lot of times the put options do move to the upside in a pretty good way. So either way, it's close on my watch list in a bearish way tomorrow.
Yeah, we've had Apple and Meta both to the downside over the past few days. Meta's actually holding up a little bit, still above 340. Apple's still around its support. These supports are still in play. If they give out tomorrow, there could be some great downside momentum. So I'll keep it on the radar. And talking about downside momentum, I'm going with Tesla for tomorrow down, and that might piss some people off, unfortunately, but Tesla is running down right now pretty hard. We go out to the daily. It failed to break above the trend line. It kind of did what it did the last time. It broke above the trend line slightly and, has gotten some bad moves right back down, and that's kind of the exact case this time with this bad news coming in that's dragging down the market. And if Tesla can break under like 237 tomorrow, I'll continue to look at puts. It's holding well below 240 today, and I think that it can continue. It seems like the floodgates are starting to open here for some of these stocks. I can't tell you what it is, Mike, but Tesla has some significantly more selling pressure today than most other stocks did. I don't know if it's because of their competition with China going on or what, but I mean, that was a pretty nasty open.
Yeah, open was pretty red for Tesla. I was watching it and, it was just like falling off a cliff. And looking at Tesla for tomorrow, Tom, what would you say are some like key levels to keep in mind like for both directions?
Yeah, like down to the downside, I'm really watching like 237, 236.50 support. If we get under there, I'd love it down. Now, we are kind of falling and rejecting back down off of this 240-ish area. If we could get back above 242 tomorrow, that would be a great sign intraday. I think we could get up to like 244, 245, which would be my next main area of resistance up there. So there's a few different areas that I'm watching, Mike, but the big thing short term, I think, will be like 242 tomorrow and then that like 236.50, 237 support.
All right, perfect. Well, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have that crazy stock, Alibaba, to the upside.
Yeah, Baba's looking great today. Great recovery. I mean, man, those China stocks got crushed and they came right back. If they break above 76.80, then I up those calls.
All righty. With the next one, we have Meta to the downside.
Yeah, they're still above that 340 support. I'd love to see them break 342, and then I think they could head down to 340, and then I'll be watching 340. If 340 breaks, then I'll be watching for one hell of a move. So there's a couple levels on Meta, but I think 342 and 340 will be very good areas.
Alrighty, and with the last one, we have a stock that has been such a powerhouse over the past couple of years, which is NVIDIA, and it is for both directions.
Yeah, this one tried to run up this morning. If it falls under 473 tomorrow, I'm definitely looking at puts, though. That was a great area of support this morning. Popped up well just above 473. Now, if we end up running to the upside above 482, then I'll look at calls. But I don't know, Mike. The market's so weak right now, and that flatness stayed low. It's going to be tough for these stocks to rise tomorrow.
Alrighty, so we have the upside level on NVIDIA for potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, and then we have the downside level as well for potential day trade down, and then don't forget about the potential plays with Meta to the downside as well, and then the potential play with Alibaba to the upside. These three stocks, Alibaba, Meta, and NVIDIA, are only setups for tomorrow if they break the levels Tom listed. If they don't break the levels, then find something else. But we do have a pretty exciting setup, big money style today with MSOS. I know we keep talking about this stock, Tom, but between the news, the original setup, and then the big money play, like how can we not? But either way, Today, a big money trader put around $2.9 million into some MSOS call options. So at first, this is going to seem a little bit complicated, but I'm going to break it down in a nice and easy way. Long story short, the big money did like a ratio spread on this. So for every 3 call options they bought, they shorted 2 call options. If you're an advanced trader, you can follow this as it is. Or if you just want to make your life nice and simple, then all you have to know is that the big money is betting that MSOS will go up in the future. Their options expire on March 15th of 2024, and they're mainly buying the 8 strike call options for March 15th of 2024. If you want to make your life nice and simple, the 8 strike call options are perfectly fine. Of course, the ETF as a whole is somewhat crazy and risky, so if you do follow this trade, make sure you are able to handle the heat, because it is a crazy stock and it will move all over the place, and it's risky. There's no better way to say it than that. But either way, looking at MSOS, I think the risk to reward setup right here is pretty solid. A lot of these cannabis stocks are at very low levels. They have a lot of volume flowing in. They have good price action flowing in. We have the 2024 elections this year, and we're already starting to see some somewhat optimistic news related to the industry. So either way, I like the setup, and I will definitely have some close eyes on it, not only for the big money play, but honestly throughout the entirety of 2024.
Yeah, and they've been talking about, like last year, we talked a lot about that like Senate banking bill, the one that they kept talking about with marijuana. So if that could get passed, obviously there'd be good news there. We have the scheduling with the DEA. That's looking good. So hopefully, some of these, I guess, obviously, like hopefully the bill passes. Hopefully marijuana gets rescheduled soon, because, just to see like marijuana being scheduled with like stuff like higher than cocaine and fentanyl is kind of insane, right? At least I get it, right? Like some people might say like, well, fentanyl might have a lot of medical uses. Well, people are arguing now marijuana does too. There's a lot of research that has been done lately over the years and stuff. So I like MSOS, Mike. Like you said, don't get in it if you can't handle the heat. These options will probably go nuts, especially if you just buy the naked calls. They can go pretty, it can get pretty risky with these options. So just keep that in mind. I wouldn't go too deep into them, but I do like the play overall, Mike. And, I hold some Tilray, I hold some PLNH. I'll probably end up picking up some MSOS soon too, just to, strengthen my exposure to the U.S. market, I guess.
Sounds good. So keep a close eye on this one going forward, but we do have a lot of things like brewing behind the scenes right now, whether it is this whole situation with, the cannabis stocks, or whether it is some of the profit taking out of the market overall, or, even just like other areas of the market moving in ways that we haven't seen in a little while. So it should be a pretty exciting day, not only in the market tomorrow, but even over like the next couple weeks. I think it's going to make for some pretty good moves and a lot of opportunities in multiple different ways. Reminder, we are hosting a live Q&A event tonight. Basically, every Wednesday, we have a great time. We answer members' questions. We go over cool topics, and it's just a great time overall. So if you want in on tonight's live event, check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. It's always a great time, and it's one of my favorite parts of the week. So just wanted to remind everyone about that. But Tom, besides that, do you have any final thoughts or anything else you are watching for tomorrow?
Yeah, just really keep your eyes on the market, guys. There's a lot of big stocks at these big supports. I really like Apple and Meta. These two stocks are sitting right on some great levels. Even Amazon has been consolidating a lot right around like this 148.50 area. If these stocks start to break down tomorrow, watch for more puts. At the same time, if you see some good price action back up, it might be one of those slight recovery days. So, be adaptable still, but obviously I'm going to have that downside bias in the short term and, see what the market does here, because with how much we ran up last year, I'm expecting at least a little bit of a pullback soon. So maybe that's exactly what we're seeing now. So I love the setups that we had today, Mike. I know a lot of people were killing them over the past few days as these stocks have been falling. Some of those setups have been working out very, very well. So create some alerts down around supports, guys.
There we go. Well, let's have an amazing day in the market tomorrow. Last but not least, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, consistently lucky trader. You've been a part of the Discord for like a couple weeks now, and you've been super active so far. So huge shout out to you. Definitely keep it up. And again, join our live event tonight. It'll be that first link in the description in the comments down below. And let's make the rest of this week a great one. Thanks for watching.